Good morning and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be taking a look at a Northern Realms Witcher's deck, and it's been a while since this has been playable, but I actually think in 10.1 it has a shot, and there's a few different reasons. I built this specifically for 10.1, so it's not going to be exactly the same as maybe versions you played in the past. So we'll go through the deck list and I'll explain why everything's in here. So Amphibious Assault has Echo. We're able to play Northern Realms cards from our deck with 9 provisions or less, and then boost it by 1 for each provision below the limit. So we can look for Keldar worst case scenario, but more than likely we're going to be looking for some of our bronzes here. We have really strong bronzes with the Griffin Witcher Adepts, and with the Griffin Witcher, if we need to fix our hand, we can pull into the Griffin Witcher Mentor, especially with Adrenaline 4, we're able to get the extra boost from it. So this card's actually very strong, and we can always fetch for a lock if we need to, so it makes it very versatile. With the Amphibious, it helps thin the deck out, it helps fix things up and get what we need when we need it. Now, moving on to Erland, this card is going to be boosting all cards in our deck by 1, so we want to make sure we have lots of units so that they're getting impacted by the Erland. We're going to get a better Erland for that reason. I tried to put in minimal amount of specials, just the ones that I felt were absolutely necessary there. It creates extreme carryover. It really helps set up the swarm in our board state for the big boost payoff from the leader Sytheman and the Sytheman that we have in our bronze end. So you want to do that. Worst case scenario, you're in a pinch in round 1. You can click Erland and take those points back from the cards in your deck, but at least it'll slam for a huge amount of points. And you'd see Erland probably around 16, 17 power if we look at it that way, because it has quite a huge potential for this one card. Now, moving on to Vesemir, this card's able to boost all Witchers I control by 1. Adrenaline 4 boost all Witchers in hand and deck as well by 1. So we can play this in round 1 for carryover. We can play this as a finisher at the end of round 3. It really doesn't matter all too much, but we definitely want to get this card and we want to play this card. I like taking it in round 1 if we're just looking to win on even and we have some space. I like taking it in round 3 if we just need a huge point slam. So you'll see how I play this and when I play this today in the games that we have. Now, Geralt Igni has been fixed, I guess you could say. I've been really liking this card since the change to initiative. Before, you couldn't tutor Igni off of the Quen and still get the ability of the 20-point reach. It went immediately up to 35, so when they fixed that and made it with an order instead, it makes Igni a lot more playable, and a lot of decks are running pairs, and a lot of decks are running big boosts, and we can often find 2 or 3 5s, 2 or 3 6s on a row, and you'll see today, my Igni hit percentage was like phenomenal. I don't think we missed an Igni that we tried to play. So I believe it has more reason here, and I think it's more versatile. It plays for value more frequently, I'm finding, than the Yurden does. So this is why it's here. It also saves the provision for us, so we could put in more top heavy cards. And Quen's going to be able to play a Witcher from deck. You know, we're pretty much only playing Witchers, so we can pull whatever we need when we need it. Adrenaline 3 gives it a shield, so if we're pulling into, even then I probably wouldn't pull the Keldar or Adrenaline 3, but we can maybe save that for the trio and give one of them a shield or something like that. It's just a nice little added bonus, and Keldar is going to be huge, so it's going to be spawning a Witcher student on the row at the end of turn with Adrenaline 4 counting down. Whenever we play a Warfare card, it's going to spawn an additional Witcher on that row, so be careful. I've ran into the problem where I've played too many Warfare cards in the same round as Keldar, and then I've ran out of board space. This is completely possible. So you want to limit the amount of Warfare cards you have in hand when you're playing Keldar, unless Keldar is going to be your win condition for the round. So if you were to go round 1 Keldar, maybe you want to spend lots of Warfare cards, but if you're going round 3 Keldar, you certainly don't want to, unless it's a short round 3 with maybe 3 or 4 cards in hand. So keep that in mind. John and Talus is just one more thing to make sure that we get everything that we need. We have tons of Warfare cards in the deck, being Amphibious, Boiling Oil, and the Target Practices, so it just makes sense to have a tutor for whichever one we need when we need it. It's also going to help thin that deck out and make sure everything's looking proper. And then we have Leo, boost self by every Witcher you control, so we want to play this at the very end if we can. It's going to get phenomenal value. It's going to be like a gourd finisher, just a huge point slam, and it's going to demand a heat wave. Otherwise, we might just win. So get the board state as good as it's going to get, and let this be the finishing play. And you'll be surprised how many points you get there. This acts as thinning, but it also acts as point slam, especially when we get the carryover from Erland and Vesemir. Huge. These will come out to 5 points each. It's just a phenomenal swing. And then that helps set up the row for the Sytheman as well, because we have more units there and all that. Now, Behringer's in this deck for a specific reason. We're playing against a lot of monster decks right now that like to bring things back from both parties' grave. I think that this is appropriate because it acts as a big point slam, and we know that going into like around 3, if they decide to go and play Witch's Sabbath, we can bring this back and we get that recycled points alongside with a lock. So these two things work out quite well when we're playing against like Witch's Sabbath, but it's also just a really good, inexpensive, cheap point slam, right? We get 9 points, 6 provision. You don't have to do anything. You just have to keep a Witcher on the row, and we have no problem doing that. So Behringer just makes the cut. I've been locking a lot in my decks lately. I think Margarita is just a necessity. We want a bit of engine removal, especially in the Jackpot matchup. We need to be able to take care of that freak show. So Boiling Oil is there, Margarita's there for that reason. We have answers to these annoying engines that could ultimately cost us the game. Griffin Witchers are some of the best bronzes, in my opinion, in Northern Realms. One of my favorite cards in the game. I've had so much fun playing this card, whichever way I take this card. But in this case, it just makes a lot of sense to open up round 1 with something like this. We get to do 1 damage every single turn. It's one of those creeping engines that gets out of control if it's left untreated. At Adrenaline 3, at the end of the turn, we can damage a random enemy by 3 and lock itself. Now, if we give it Veil with our Stratagem, or if we give it Veil with our Fortune Teller, now all of a sudden it's going to be doing 3 damage every turn, and we don't lose our order as well. So we're going to be getting that extra point, basically making this card worth 4 points per turn at late round when we have Adrenaline 3. So huge point potential. Another reason why Fortune Teller is here and why this works so well is because we can give something doomed if we can get to it. So if there's something that we don't want the opponent to bring back or play, for example, Flying Redanian or Crow Mother or Spear Tip, when it gets boosted to 18, you've seen this before, give it doomed, you will never see it again. So I like that about this card. It can work both ways, and it's an incredible tech for the meta right now. Target practice is just to help with our board state and help keep things alive, whether we put it on the Griffin Witcher or whether we put it on the Adepts. We're getting extra tokens that we can flip into more Adepts. So that's basically it. And a couple inexpensive payoffs here. Sytheman's one of them, right? Sytheman just makes a lot of sense. We're stacking the row, everything's boosted. We put these down, they get up to 8, 9, 10 points for 4 provisions. So it's nice to have. You won't really see me take them in round 1 as much, but you could probably get away with maybe having 1 in hand in round 1. But that's pretty much the deck here for you guys today. I have a bunch of games I want to show you, and I'm going to be doing commentary for all these games, post-game commentary, just to show you what I was thinking, how to approach the certain matchups, and why I think this deck can be good right now. So stick around for that, and if you guys enjoy the content that you see, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. The algorithm hasn't been blessing me the same way the last few days, so if you want to drop a comment, let me know what you think. That would be much appreciated to spike us back and put us back in the race on the rankings. So we'll get into the video here, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Alright, and for the first game we have Syndicate Jackpot, and this is one of the hardest matchups that we're probably going to face with this deck. We aren't very interactive, with exception to maybe some pings off the Griffin Witchers and the Ignean Boiling Oil, so we have to reserve those things for the best time possible. And luckily we don't have to go first here.
Appeals can be filed within 7 years.
So I like to start with control, opposed to putting down the Adept. I always like to get these out there because they get really good value over long round. And it's kind of nice to see something like Professor come down to answer it. I think with that, though, we just go in for the second one. there's a lot of cards in our hand that have adrenaline, and that's one of the pitfalls of the deck. So we have to be mindful of that. We have to play things when we're supposed to play things. They did make it a little bit easier. Now the cards glow red when the adrenaline kicks. But it's just the fact that we have so many cards that have adrenaline. So it affects our sequencing a little bit. Now, I go ahead and boost that because if they want to remove that, I want to see a Marils or a Greydin or something like that. I don't want to make it cheap for them. And seeing all the coins and some is actually fair. I think that's fine. They worked pretty hard to get all the coin. Now we just take them away. And seeing the leader come in too. So right away I'm feeling pretty good. It would be nice for me to take some carryover here, but at the same time we have to see if they'll call us on the bluff. I think at this point that they really want the round, which is why they use the leader. And wasn't expecting a pass at all. Keep in mind they are getting that extra point per turn. I think that they have boat in hand because most of the decks that are Jackpot right now are running the Flying Redanian, and we're not seeing it come on the board when they have 9 coin. So yeah, it's a little unfortunate here, but I think we played a 4 anyways. And it's just not enough. So we have to click. It takes away some of the carryover that we have, but I think it trades alright with some of the stuff they played. So we will probably just try and take this to round 3 here and get everything we need to win the game. The hand right now is kind of messy.
No, dwarves do not qualify for childcare tax relief.
So we don't need Fortune Teller in round 3 because they didn't get a boat. Also, we've already played the Griffin Witchers, so that's fine. We have access to Igni, and we have access to our trio. Boiling in hand, we have a lock. I feel pretty good about this round. The only problem here is trying to find something to play early. So we have a couple plays like this, but there's quite a few cards with adrenaline in hand. So we can either play one of those bronzes from hand and then just get the rehand comp without the boost, or we can just float the lock. I think at this point, we just float the lock. We're roping, and we want to make sure that we have a lock out there. If they try and go and spend something to remove this right here, it's going to be kind of expensive. Okay. So at least we can answer the 1. The way that they just played that and didn't seem to mind tells me that they probably have Horsen in hand. I don't like taking this pull here, but we do. Just a 5-point turn. It's a little bit slow, but the big plays are coming up. And I'm just looking right now, kind of paying attention to what might be the best Igni. If the Jackal gets tall in the back row, then that's potential row target. So there's really nothing to do here. It's a bad situation. We have to float the Keldar because it's a handful of bricks. And I don't think that's bad, because then we can play whatever we want when we hit Adrenaline, assuming that they don't remove it.
I've no mercy for your kind.
Well, that's just bad. At least that trades quite well. They spent the coins. We don't have Keldar, but at least they don't either.
Lots of prior experience. Worked with idiots my whole life.
And so at least now we're starting to roll into plays that we can make and not have it feel awkward. So we can go ahead and get trio down. Unboosted trio is a little bit underwhelming, I know. But they had a pretty good call on our bluff in round 1. And so they just want to see everything injured here. If you guys see what I see, this is a win condition right here. So I'm going to be diving in and getting the Igni here because we have 3 6s. And we can actually tutor it now. So huge, huge move there. And all of a sudden we're ahead here. Full leader and everything.
300,000 now. Do we have 4?
So naturally you'll go and play Vesemir. We want to boost them up, then we can just use the leader to kind of fix that up a little bit more. I realized at this point that the card that we're going to be pulling with Amphibious is going to be a Witcher, so for that extra point we want to go and grab that first and play the Leo last.
You will not stand in the way of my master's plan.
That's huge points. I'm just doing this before it potentially gets worse. And we missed the points here. It's never the case. But I think we're good. They have coin. Yeah, so we're lucky that we played leader that turn. And we just go ahead and slam this here. I wasn't counting, I was just hoping, and we got the win. We pulled off with 1 point. I was really excited about that one. Moving on to the next game here. This is tough because they're very damage oriented and we're super boosty. And I don't have a lot of answers, right? Again, another one of the same problems, but we seem to be doing alright so far into these kind of matchups. What I love about this deck, though, is the blue coin setup. I find when we go first, we always tend to have a pretty good time in round 1. I'm not really familiar with this matchup. I don't think I've played this specific matchup before, if in a long time.
I can do a great deal more for you.
Nothing like some overseas plundering in springtime.
So I had to put some respect on Berna because I think that if they play, or not Berna, but Coral, Because if they play Burner, then we're in trouble. It's a lot of points, and then they have other ways to discard as well if they're looking to take the Thin. So we get rid of that problem now. It's also kind of another annoying card, because we know we don't want to lock something like that, but we know that there's potential that we might start hitting that when we get to Adrenaline if we're playing this deep into the round. For now, let's take the carryover so we can decide if we want to leave the round, but I kind of want to have round control against a deck like this.
Tide rolls in, tide rolls out. It's not anything you can possibly explain.
So yeah, you see what I mean here? If we gotta lock at least one of those. I like to have engine superiority, having more moving things than my opponent. The more cards just sit for points, the worse it is for them. I'm thinking about locking that, but ultimately, they have nothing else on the board. I'm thinking that they're probably running another one. It doesn't make sense not to. Yeah, see, Melusine would just come out and do the same thing. So it's probably best that we lock the boat. And we keep that middle card damaged because it's going to continue to hit the ones beside it. I really want this round, because when you play down like this, you want to capitalize on the end round where you're getting that 4 points return. So it feels like a lot of our efforts would be wasted otherwise. And we have Veil in our unit. We don't have access to a second, so we give that Doom, because I've played Rain recently, and one of the things that I like to do is bring those messengers back for like a round 3 play. So if we take care of one of them now for good, we're good to go. Now, they're sort of keeping pace with this quite well, because they do have the 3 engines out there, and this is what I was talking about earlier, the whole engine superiority. We don't have more than 1 engine right now, so our single engine has to carry for their 3, and that's kind of intimidating. So, I'm looking for our way to escape in the round, and if I could find a tie, or if I can find ahead by 1 point, we're taking it, because I don't want to get caught, and I don't want to use something as expensive as the Quen right here. But obviously Quen into an Igni is also a possibility. I just much rather have Quen for the trio when we can. And so, the Megascope's a little bit slow. I was thinking that, alright, you know, it's a little late to set up that whole play, so I'm going to play a little bit more. I was getting a bit greedy here. But I'm sure most do the same thing. I mean, we know that it's ticking for 3 points a turn on a pass here. They're getting out the second messenger. It's going to be boosting by 2.
Poor bees they who have no knowledge.
In the end,
So looking at the board state right now, on the pass, I believe it's a tie. No, on a pass they're still ahead, so we have to play. But Leo's really good here because if we're pushing for a shorter round 2 or round 3, then Leo might not get its full value. But that's like our finish line. We pretty much have to leave. Seeing Fukusha come out, it's massive. Yeah, this is the turn that I was thinking. A pass on this turn, it's a tie. I'm a lot more comfortable with that because we pull into trio right away. We have full leader. The rain that they have doesn't have a lot of value in sort of a short round. Sytheman's not really great. I'm just trying to greed out something better here. I guess that works out quite well because now we can pull Igni or Beringer or Keldar. I just don't want to give them a lot to work with because I know that they're going to want to get the benefit from rain pretty quick. So I'm playing this a bit differently than I normally would if it was just a standard matchup. So we'll go put down the shield, and that should be pretty awkward for them. The first rain's not going to do anything. So now we have to start playing units, which is kind of awkward. So what I'm afraid of here is if we play into Keldar, then the actual Keldar, whatever it spawns, they could just take the Rio hand back and just kill the whole row. So I wanted to go as tall as possible and get more of a provision gap so that it works out better. Now, I'm not sure why they went on ranged, but I don't think it matters. You guys see what I see here, right? Just double check it. I can't believe my eyes here. So we'll go and take it. We gotta play in a range roll because we don't want to deal with Storm on the last turn. Oh, let's go take that. That should do it for us.
Not your lucky day.
And we can always flip the back row last turn. So we save full leader and we save the trio. I gotta say that was pretty good. Moving on to game number 3, we have some sort of elves or traps or something. I remember this one being a little bit unconventional, but elves are still strong sometimes. You never know what you're going to be playing against, so it's hard to sort of prepare for these things. So I don't really know what we're gonna get as far as a boiling oil here. So I opt to take that just in case they go bonded and they get the extra vitality on the second. But right away this plays for 6 points off the boiling oil, so I felt pretty confident with that.
The time of the white frost and white light is now.
So far it's kind of strange card selection. I'm not really sure what's going on. I guess that would be for the Purifier Vitality, but the Dwarfs are, I guess, a little out of place with the leader.
Mankind is a virus, a plague.
You see what I mean? I don't even know what to expect here. A lock comes down. I don't have any Purifies in the deck, but I think that's fine. If you felt like you really wanted to Purify, maybe you take out one of the Sytheman, you put a Purify. If you want more proactivity, maybe you take out, again, that same Sytheman and maybe put in like a Royal Guard. There's a couple different fixes you could do there. Crammer as well comes down. See what I mean? I'm just kind of slamming down points and just looking at what they're doing. We don't have enough information to really know how to counter their strat. But if we can get some carryover, that'd be good. If I can play down to Vesemir, or if they don't respect the temple that we have potential of doing, then I can just play Keldar in this round and see if we can take it. Because we have the Adept just kind of sitting there hanging out, not really doing anything just yet, so we could just turn that online. Erland's something I'd like to see here. We also get the points off the flip.
I hate portals. We'll uphold the knightly values that define us. That is our
I can see Qcento from here.
We might get a pass from them thinking that we're going to click. And then in that event we can just play a bronze. But otherwise we can keep pushing. We've got turns here. Keldar, Vesemir, you see what I mean? And you kind of have to decide. Vesemir can be played at any time, but with Keldar you're losing points the longer you wait.
unlike some of their coins. I polish my quill.
If anything, Vesemir is getting more points the longer that we wait because we're able to get all the Witchers on the board. So with the pass here, you know, Keldar pretty well takes round. And I actually don't feel bad about spending that because they just threw down 3 golds that didn't really do a whole lot here. So it was pretty good. I think in situations like this, we just push it. Kind of like Fortune Teller, it's going to help with a push because we can... Yeah, perfect. And unlike the first game today, this game we have the perfect carryover situation established. If you guys haven't seen this back in the day, I think it was 7.5 or some patch way back when, if you're new to Gwent. Witchers were so much fun. So, what we know, and what maybe they don't know, is that this card still works on range. Not for the turn, like, not for the order of return, but for the lock effect that it does with the Veil. And they might not expect us to have that all set up.
Carefully.
I wonder, do we ever push with Scenario? Yeah, probably. I took Vesemir here first because if I see too big of a commitment that pushes me out of the round, I at least want to have the carryover from that. So that's why we did that there. Otherwise, I probably would have locked the commando on the back row.
Never had your kneecaps broken.
And easy flip, thank you.
Your heart.
Now we can just get the Veil on this here and watch it carry. It's nuts. It's outer rebuke range. Nothing that we have right now is in waylay range either. And I think that's what they're looking for, is they want to chip something down so they get that waylay. And I'm trying to not let them have it, but I think we have to. We'll go ahead here and lock the... Not like it matters at this point, because they played a Dwarf, which shut it down anyways, but if they play Vernacio, then it'll turn back online. And I'm hoping that with whatever we have left here, plus those 3 points per turn, we're actually just getting ahead.
The only good humans are dead. Time for you to die, Dwan.
We just take the best one.
Be yourselves, only better.
Of course, we definitely take trio. Extra boosted trio, 3 points on the last turn. I think we go all in. So I'm looking at the Yurden here. Like, I could never have expected that, but you can't put it past anybody. So I think we still crank it. I don't think it matters where we play though. But yeah, I think the last card's probably Vernal with a leader charge. They should have played on ranged.
Any last words?
Moving on to the next one here, we have... I like this crazy big Thrive deck. We're getting a really good variety here as far as games today. I was impressed. We have a couple control games we played into. A couple on, like, there was the one untargetable game, game 3, last game we played. No idea what was going on there. Then we have this game here, which is just boost versus boost. Who can boost higher?
Dark clouds gather over Temeria.
The wonders of projectiles and ranged weaponry.
And you sort of see the trend. I like to start the round the same way. And I want to play around like a natural selection. So now we get these both running, and they're going to really carry here. It just sucks because everything we damage is going to be thriving back, so we have to really kind of take one thing at a time and just really try and ping it down. But it'll definitely take a couple turns for each unit that we're trying to take care of. Now, whenever I see the leader ability, I'm thinking Kashi, so we want to save the lock, because that lock's going to play for a lot of points later. And we also want to respect the point potential that they have, because the more Thrive units they put down, the scarier it's going to be. So we've been able to get rid of a few so far, but I don't think we ever pass on them here. I think we need to play down as far as possible so that we're getting that ticking counter there. And if they decide to slow down and heat wave it, then it should just buy us time to get out of the round anyways. Haven't seen Fuka played in a long time, so it's kind of cool to see it in action here. We'll just focus on things we can control, so we'll try and focus on that one in the back. No sense in even trying to go after a Thrive 2. It'll basically be turning off our engines here altogether, because they'll just keep thriving it back what we damaged at every turn. Man, it's going to be crazy when this all goes off here. All these bronzes going to put in such good numbers. Larvas are 6, Fukas are 5 each, so there's a lot of provisions being spent regardless. We'll put back the trio there. Boost that. I think that we have to try and get out of the round here. Hopefully we snipe. Nice. Can't say I love hitting the Fuka. I'd rather hit the back 3, but that's fine. So that would be a Yigern. You see how they play one card and it gets them right back in the match? It's nuts. So I think I gotta bow out here. I don't know if we can do it. We can't survive another Thrive.
No worries. Sins of the flesh.
Wait.
Specialty.
They're gonna have to use the leader here. Or can we survive another Thrive, right? You gotta love it. I'm telling you, this combo is busted when it works. I really like this deck. Moving on to the next game here. Stockpile. I'm interested. Another control-based deck. And you see, it's crazy because most of what we're playing against today is control. Igni's a total Chad, and the bronzes are really carrying as well. Now someone's going to try and do what we are doing to us. And there's not a lot we can do about it, so it makes having round 1 extremely difficult. You know what's really nice though? They actually really set us up for the perfect situation. If you see what I see. Now we might actually have a shot.
Gather over Temeria.
Knights get princesses and we get what? Bloody Striegers!
Kind of hard to deal with. So a couple different things. We can maybe chisel this one down to help set up an Igni, or we can start cracking at the 4. I decide that I'm trying to start pushing the row. I don't know if they're going to be expecting it. It's crazy how one little play can bring us right back in the round here.
Projectiles and ranged weaponry.
On a pass, we just dump Erland. The winch there is kind of cool, but I don't know if it's like super necessary. It's obviously for something else we're probably going to run into later. And on the pass we play Vesemir. Wow, they're getting such good value off these boiling oils.
A rebirth.
So I decide to greed because I think that they're going to want to play to 3. When I play this deck, I just really want to push that to 3 because it's like the point of no return for the opponent. So I'm hoping that they give me one more turn. And sure enough, they do. I would totally play there if they were the same base power. Imagine 2 11s. Totally take the Igni. But in situations like this, you don't. Everything looks pretty good. I'm considering that I need a throw card. So if they pass on me, I want to have something to play. And we do have one with the left bronze. We don't really want to play anything else on a dry pass. So they're going to float that. I kind of want to lock that. I think that's fair.
I hope we can trust you.
Lock prevents 4 points. So she plays for like 11. Yeah. And so they're trying to 2-0. Now, we can't underestimate them. I wasn't expecting them to cram Siege there, which is why I initially played on ranged. But sure enough, they did. So we want to kind of adjust a little bit here and play out of reach of that while still being able to stack the rows. So I'm going to be committing to melee from here on out. Kind of have to get Keldar online here shortly. And I don't opt for a leader boost because I want the battering ram to hit the shield instead. So they just wasted the 3 damage there. But I guess locking that's kind of a big deal. So I'm watching my 4s and 5s. There's some Igni potential. I'm trying to preserve playing the trio. Take Mentor here because it's a lot of points. And then we get some trio carryover too. We tuck that right back in, I think. Or we can even play it from hand, but it's probably something we tuck back for. The points will just be pulling back out. So I was contemplating leader or just waiting. And I decided to just wait because it's not like we're going down a card, we're just giving them back card. So I'm willing to deal with that. See if we can do it again. It would have been nice if we can grab trio here, but at least that's something that we might be able to get in round 3. They're going for it here. What are they going to pull? So this works out quite well. 8 provisions gives it 6. So we have 12 on the front row. So I just like to take it first so we can do the math on it. Nice little hit. So then, yeah, we should just be able to get ahead here with when we spend.
Last words. Get the word.
And such good carryover with... We just need to use 2, not 3. And that should do it. So moving on to the last round here, and something kind of messed up happened in the end of this game here. Someone logged into my Gwent account and it disrupted the game that I was playing. I received a notification for it and I was advised to change my password. If you're trying to get into my account, cut it out. I spent a lot of time and a lot of hours on this, and this is what I do on YouTube primarily, so I don't think it's pretty funny. But we'll show you what was left of the game before that, and we'll end on a good note. I changed the password, everything's safe to go, and I've been on since. So just a little bit of a scare at the beginning.
Round's another matter.
Now, we don't really have anything to give Vale. I kind of took a greedy draw there, but we can go ahead and we can put down Fortune Teller for points. And you see, there's no way they would have caught up here. Berenger plus leader would have just been too many points, but this is where we DC.